it's inevitable. At 50, well, it stops.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. One single injection unlocks your DNA and will release another version of yourself. This is the substance.
I'm Sue.
You're hired.
Let's go.
A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
This balance is not working.
Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop?
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
You have to control yourself. Fat.
People are gonna love that.
There you have it.
There it is.
So The Substance, directed by Coralie Farguet, also starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. You want to say hi to everybody on our celebration? She's got to fix her hair now. It's like she just peeks around like she's sneaky.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
She's just like,
Has she been on the wine already?
yeah. We went to brunch and we had some like a platter of beer, and then she had her Bloody Mary.
A platter of beer.
It's like, yeah, they give you like 4 different beers to sample, but they're like that kind of like shot glasses.
Oh, okay.
But then she had her Bloody Mary, so but she's all right. But she's still got her wine out now, so she hasn't stopped.
Why would you stop?
Why would you? So yes, The Substance, 2024, a lot of buzz. The first of our 2 body horror films, and I guess we'll start with my co-host. Like, when was the first time you saw this? Because you actually own this, from what I understand.
Yeah, I have it. Last year, I watched it when it was pretty brand new. Like, if I don't know, I my friend had it, and I watched it on Plex, and that's how I watched this. I heard the hype and everything, and I was like, yeah, it sounds cool. So yeah, it was not long ago.
So after you watched it, is that when you bought it? I guess you liked it enough to buy
yeah,
it.
pretty much.
Okay.
I waited till it was like available, and I got it. It's in the drawer.
Didn't even break it out.
No,
What about you?
but I've watched it. I've opened it.
Okay. Lambert.
Like everybody else, I had heard a lot of buzz on the internet before the trailer was even released. I think this was quietly showed at one of the independent film festivals. I don't know if it was Sundance, but obviously there was a lot of buzz, and the main point of that buzz was Demi Moore's performance. Apparently, wherever this film festival was, she got a standing ovation, and obviously she broke down, and she's never really had that much buzz or like a performance like that in quite some time. She's kind of like like disappeared for quite some time, and now thanks to the substance, I think it's kind of regenerated her career. So
No pun intended.
no pun intended, yeah. But obviously, after hearing all the buzz about it, they finally dropped the trailer, and I just thought the trailer was bonkers.
Yeah.
Like, as you've just seen, like, the talk about the substance, the talk about, you know, you kind of figure out, you know, there's like two people who are one in the trailer, and it doesn't really give much else away. So obviously, I was very intrigued by it. And when it was released in theaters, I immediately went to see it. Might have been 2 weeks after it initially came out, and I loved it. Like, just because with not knowing much about it and kind of going in pretty much blind, it was a pleasant surprise. It was just totally bonkers, you know, just a crazy body horror movie that I didn't know what to expect from it. And for me, it didn't disappoint at the time.
Yeah, last night for me was the first time, 3 o'clock this morning, I got up and watched it in preparation for this show. So one thing I can definitely say out the bat is both Qualley and Demi Moore were excellent acting in this. Quaid was great in his role. Soundtrack is top notch. I love the soundtrack of this. It's so very good. But it does follow Hollywood fading star Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore, who's obviously she was a big deal throughout her youth and towards the end. Like, she still aged pretty well, like even in this industry that they're portraying here. She's doing like some sort of aerobics video that she's a big part of in her career. But clearly she's, you know, Dennis Quaid being the manager or whoever the owner is of the station is like looking for youth. Like, he's clearly kind of done with her because she's just over the hill basically in his eyes. So she kind of overhears this and starts getting self-conscious about her looks and the youth and everything that's been let go. And in the midst of that, gets into a car accident, which she's fine, but certainly distraught just because, again, dealing with the pain of this. Quaid is like such a piece of crap agent or whatever he is that you're making her feel bad. But there's this sort of intern that's in the room with her, and he starts telling her, "You're a perfect candidate," and she's like, "What?" And he leaves like a card or a note or something in her coat, to which she goes and researches it and calls it, and it's for sort of a serum that's called the substance, and it's supposed to help with, you know, youth, and does some pretty interesting things. We see at the beginning where they inject like an egg yolk and it splits into two.
Yeah.
So clearly it's supposed to take your best part of yourself, all the strengths and all the beauty and everything, and basically split you in half. And it's a very interesting concept. So I'll ask Kevin first, like, what did you think when you started watching this and how it was unfolding early on?
Well, for me, straight away, what caught me interest was basically right at the beginning of the movie. For example, you mentioned how she's a fading star. So she clearly was an actress, a Hollywood actress. Then she went from being a Hollywood actress who was probably getting a lot of big parts to then becoming like a television presenter on this network for this morning exercise show. So straight away, that's a massive jump from being the leading lady to then being just like the morning exercise host on morning television. And I love that right at the beginning, as the credits were rolling, you're seeing like her Hollywood, you know, star on the Walk of Fame being cemented, and seeing it, you know, you see like the highlights of our, you know, induction ceremony there at the Walk of Fame, to it then becoming just a crumbling wreck. And it's basically like the highlight of a star's career and life on Hollywood. And then you can see her as it progressed to like slowly getting more insecure about that age and her position in life. And I don't think it's just the fact that her star's dwindling. I think she's now starting to doubt, where she is in life, because she hasn't had a serious relationship. She's got no like a lot of family. You don't really see that side of it. It's all more like about the vanity of Hollywood and like how she's let everything else kind of slip aside.
Yeah.
And she's like missed out on a lot. Like that guy who wants to go on a date with her and she's not showing any interest, but then all of a sudden she is interested because she's lonely. And then so I really found all of that fascinating to the story and the plot points. And when you mentioned to the point where she gets so desperate where she's trying to like keep this part of her life because it's all she basically knows, and she takes the substance and you see the transformation start to transpire, and she's basically just left on the bedroom and not the bathroom floor, sorry. It's just so compelling and just suckers you in straight away, and it's just really strong beginning to a really interesting story.
Tony.
Yeah. Ditto. No, it's a very interesting beginning. Like I said, like he said, like you see the star and like people are all about it, taking pictures, and then pause there for a second. People taking pictures and and then eventually it's like, oh, do you remember her? And they're like,
Yeah, I thought that was a nice way of showing not just what we're seeing in the rest of the film, but how when she was first a star, like you had the star being made on the sidewalk of Hollywood, and then people are like posing and everything. But after a while, people were just walking over like she's nothing anymore. It's like a representation of herself and her age.
And it's starting to crack and everything, and it's like kind of like aging like her, and it's getting forgotten about like her. So like it is a representation of her at the same time, and she's like, I guess she's okay with that, just doing what she's doing. She's still working, but then the whole reason she overheard him is because the women's bathroom was out of order, and she went to the men's bathroom, and he was talking shit about her, and he didn't know she was in there, and then that just, she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be fired, and he's such a scumbag. He's the way they portray him with that fish lens and the grossest. I love him, but I hate him so much. He's so gross.
That Shrek scene, I'm just like, punch him right in the mouth.
Deliberately showcasing to be, he's like the Steins of Hollywood. He's like, they're deliberately showing him to be like the corrupt, really narcissistic. Basically, he's basically a representation of like the men of Hollywood and like how they are basically, sexualizing women and basically showcasing that. Basically, it's in a own way, it's like the Harvey Weinstein effect. Basically showcasing all the negativity of what corruption and power does, and they do it in such a strong way where he doesn't just look and act nasty and like they show you him eating food, and they're showing you like close-ups of his mouth and his yellow teeth and the cracking of, like you said, the shrimp in his mouth. It's basically showing you the disgustingness of like all the dark sides of Hollywood, but they're doing it in such a visual way that it just immediately makes you feel uncomfortable.
And you could tell he doesn't care about him. He's like, even when like he's giving her a box, like, oh, I haven't seen you. We wanted to have drinks with you. Well, here you go. It's always good to see you. And he like walks out. It's like, whoa, like he cares nothing about her.
Even like, I know we're going ahead, but even right near the end where him and all the executives of the studio are there, and Sue's there, and obviously they're not even focusing on her. Like, because they're just thinking of the pound signs, the dollar signs, they're just thinking of the money and the ratings, and they're not seeing her as a person. They're just seeing her they're seeing her as an object, as a piece of real estate in many ways. They're not actually paying it. So when all that creepy stuff's going around, like if you've seen it, you're like, what the fuck? What happened to your hair? What the fuck's going on to your face? They're not even paying any attention to it because they're just thinking of the ratings, the money, and the power. And
Can you guys hear that outside?
No.
Okay.
So basically, she, as Kevin pointed out, she starts taking the serum, and there's a process to this. This is a very elaborate process, and they're very strict about what you got
Why
to do.
can't we also say no directions?
Right. Yeah, she
It's
figured it
just-
out pretty quick.
Yeah.
That was especially after she got the second part of her. But so she takes this serum, and then all of a sudden we just kind of see her back split open, and then it's almost like her giving birth to a younger version of herself, which it represents, but she looks different. Which is played by Margaret Qualley, and she calls herself Sue. But she already knows, because they share the same memories, the same brain. But the way that this works is, and from what they've been instructed is, once you've taken it, you have to share time with each body. So once you split, you have 7 days, and you got to switch back to the other body for 7 days, and then so on. It has to go back and forth. So that right there is like a tricky thing. You know that they're going to have to really finagle this in a way that makes it work. And which, to me, honestly, in hindsight, looking at their situation, like, even though we know that she wanted to be back in the starlight, if she had been smart, she'd have been like, you know what, I'm just going to try to live a normal life where I can do both and still have a nice career as a young girl.
Yeah.
But then, hey, look who we got. Mr. Samurai. Thank you so much, sir. Much appreciated. But he's there.
He's there.
Depends on where you are. I don't know. Oh, yeah? I don't know. He's there. I see him.
He's definitely there.
Yeah. So the idea is, like, you got to kind of like hydrate the other body while the other one's walking around doing its thing, and then
so it's like, so basically what it is so Elizabeth takes the substance, and basically it splits all the good part of her into the younger body, which is Sue, but it's one conscious. So what basically happens is when the conscious of Elizabeth Sparkle goes into Sue, the body then becomes basically dormant on the floor, but it still needs substance. So there's like this food formula that they have to inject into the dormant body so it can stay hydrated and fed and all that. But then there's the rule is, after 7 days, they have to switch, so the consciousness has to go back into the other body. But yes, the kicker though, when that happens and the body is dormant on the floor, they have no recollection or memory of what went on in 7 days. So that plays a huge part in, like, the paranoia and the anger and like, especially with Elizabeth. So because she's been dormant for 7 days, and there's like these auditions for somebody basically to take her job, Sue gets the job of being her replacement. So obviously after 7 days of being unconscious, Elizabeth's now back in the world of the living, as you will, and as she's walking around Hollywood, she's now starting to see billboards of Sue's face on. She's seeing, like, the billboard that had her morning show start to get scraped off, and she's like, that's why she crashes the car. And she sees Sue on billboards, and then you see Dennis Quaid's character whose eyes have just fucking popped out of his head, like, That's
the other thing we learn in this is that while the other body is, being hydrated and everything, the reason they have to share is that the younger version has to inject herself with stuff from the spinal cord of the other body to make herself stay young and not, like, deform and everything else. So the reason why they got to share is because the other body has to, like, regenerate the fluid that she needs, and that becomes a problem later on in the movie. Because Sue always starts pushing the limits to her being out in the open instead of switching over like she's supposed to. But yeah, as you said, she ends up taking the job. She's the new girl of the show, Pump It Up. And so, what was the one called before that? I can't remember the one that Demi had called. It was some show she had, but
Sparkle.
Yeah, it was a little bit. That was her name, Elizabeth Sparkle, but it was something like "touch you up" or something. I don't know, but either way, you start to see Sue kind of using the same ending, like kissing, blowing a kiss to the screen, which Demi's character used to do. So Elizabeth starts to get very angry at this because even though it's her, they're all the same person. They're living two different lives. So the older one is having to deal with the aging process, whereas Sue is now living that young life. So it is weird because they share the same consciousness, but then they also are like two different people because they see it from different points of view.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy how that works.
And it
Yeah.
plays on like the ageism thing of like Demi's got no recollection, Elizabeth's got no recollection, and she's seeing Sue now getting all the glory, all the attention, all the accolades, and she's originally, when she wanted the substance, she thought it was going to basically help her regain like some of her youth back, some of that energy back, so she can continue, they give her career more leg and more like longevity. But basically what it's happened is it's basically she's now sitting back in the shadows watching this younger version of herself living the life that she was trying to save.
Yeah.
And how sweet was that bodysuit?
So sweet. Yeah. I'm
But
not
we
really
did-
into bodysuits, but
That I
Yeah.
would be the yeah.
Yeah.
That was nice. But that was sort of the early scene where we see where she's supposed to be switching over, but she's pushing our limits because 7 days is 7 days. If you go 8 days, you can do it, but then there's a problem because of what it does to the other body, the host that basically she draws the fluid from. So when she does this, once they switch back and Elizabeth comes back to, consciousness and she's the one that's taken over, her body's like fucked up. We see the finger early on. That's a sign that Sue's not doing it the right way. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. And
you should
so,
see my other self, though. I'm gorgeous.
so obviously Elizabeth's really angry. Like, you can't be doing this, but they're never conscious together until the very end. Like, you're not supposed to be at the same time.
Yeah.
So, she starts seeing this happen. So she's trying to call these guys that are setting this up. She never sees them in person. They're just on the phone. So she's like, she's not doing it. She's not following the rules. And he's like, well, you can quit, you can stop and be done with it. But she continues on because for some reason she still likes what's happening with her other part of herself. So despite the frustration, she's going to continue on. And then, of course, leads to Sue, who's going to be now hosting New Year's Eve. And again, this is after some time when Sue keeps playing with fire, taking more days, like a couple more days. And she's telling Elizabeth while she's laying, she's like, I'm sorry, it's just a few more hours or another day. You can handle this. It's like you're not on the internet stick, not yet
right.
anyway. So, but yeah, I thought Dennis Quaid's character was really pretty erratic and crazy in this, but Kevin kind of nailed it in terms of how they present him and those guys that follow him around like leeches.
Yeah.
Just the constantly looking at all the young ass, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, come on, dude, come on, quit being the wolf, chill out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really cool scene towards about the middle or so when Elizabeth's just losing her shit. Like, she's gone full crazy, cooking up tons of food, just tearing up the house. And I mean, that's a great performance. I understand like why she was up for nominations for that, because she was amazing in that.
The scene as well where Sue's basically, obviously, because Elizabeth is now like deep into depression, so she's comfort eating and she's eating anything she can get her hands on. And there's that particular scene where Sue is doing her morning exit, and you get the chicken leg that's now protruding out of her thigh, and you're like, fuck me. And she knows. And so Elizabeth is deliberately messing with Sue because she knows Sue's taking advantage and is taking the piss.
Yeah.
And is, and is literally risking Elizabeth's life. So because of that, clearly she's she's like, right, if you're gonna fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you. And this literally, they end up going to war basically, even though it's meant to be the same body, the same consciousness, but with two different looks at life and their situation, and they're like, it's like an inner turmoil war with herself.
Yeah.
Between the two versions, the older version and the younger version.
Yep.
And that's sort of like what I was sort of talking about with Tony off screen was, I think the thing that Elizabeth never really grasps in this whole situation with how this would work is that on some level, Elizabeth was already kind of a narcissist, or her penthouse suite, you talked about how the billboard's right outside. She can see herself. That's total narcissism. Like, you're looking at yourself.
Yeah.
Of course, then it's Sue, but I don't think she kind of underestimated herself when she did this, because she should have known her younger self was going to turn into a selfish bitch just like her for most of her young career. So this was bound to happen. Like, you just have to know yourself. Like, she didn't really realize.
It makes you wonder what was Elizabeth like, the original Elizabeth, before she became, did she walk over people? Was she like Dennis Quaid's character in her youth? Did she sleep her way to the top, or did she step over other young wannabe actresses that just wanted to be successful? And so you've got all these hidden things that you don't fully grasp until she's then basically in many ways faced with dealing with herself, which is what she's having to do.
True.
Yep. So after a while, Sue stockpiles all the fluid, the stabilizers, which she's been using to keep going. Instead of just 7 days, she's pushing it to like almost 2 weeks or whatever. So that by the time she does switch back, Elizabeth is almost like massively deformed. Like, she's just a hunchback and like just looking, hair's falling out, and she just looks terrible.
Yeah.
So now she's decided, she's made the plan to, to terminate this whole fucking thing, but that means she's going to have to terminate Sue along the way. But again, as she's getting ready to do that, she pauses because there's that part that she wants the limelight. She wants that part of her to still share in that limelight, but as Kevin pointed out, she's just battling herself, because they're actually one being. They're just split into two different halves. But they are at odds with one another. And so it's like the young one is like trying to just go and live the life, but doesn't realize that she still needs to take care of the other half in order to get there.
Yeah.
So as Elizabeth, half attempts to terminate this whole thing, she ends up trying to resuscitate. Sue comes up, and then Sue just loses her shit. She's like, just puts her in the smashing her against mirrors and kicking the shit out of her, and finally kills the other half. And you just know that's going to lead to the bad news. So you guys go ahead and talk about how you feel about the ending sequence. I'll give you my thoughts afterwards.
Kevin could go. I mean, he wanted to really talk about this. So,
well, obviously, the one thing I never expected, which I thought was a real great surprise, is like, Elizabeth, like you mentioned, Anubis, she get to this point where Elizabeth is just so enraged. She's on the verge of basically killing the younger version. But like you say, she makes the choice not to do it. But because she allows the younger version of herself to survive, they end up getting into this really physical fight in the apartment, which that particular scene I did not see coming. And the fighting was really graphic, really strong, kicked the shit out of each other. And then, of course, the younger version of Elizabeth, Sue, gets the upper hand and basically leaves Elizabeth left for dead, basically. So what ends up happening, because she's so distraught, for whatever reason, Sue decides to inject herself to try and create another version of herself, which goes horrendously wrong, because how can you create more than one? when you're two
Single
people,
use only.
single use only, and how can you regenerate yourself from the other version that's literally, like you said, deformed and all that? Which this is where it gets batshit crazy, where things just go on to a whole different level. It goes from being like a beauty pageant to like The Fly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally turns into The Fly, where there's now this ultra really grotesque version of Elizabeth or Sue, and like literally they're all combined together. It's like they've all become like this one unique being, which is just absolutely grotesque. Like there's tits flying out of the eye sockets.
Yeah.
This Elizabeth,
Elizabeth Sue.
yeah. Monstro is the name of the new version. Monstro, Elizabeth Sue, and like there's even like Sue's head stuck to the shoulder of Monstro. And what ends up happening is it's like she gets a full glance of what she's become, because on the New Year's Eve party she goes and she stands under the spotlight as Monstro Sue. Sparkle,
Still
and
puts
then
on the dress and the
puts
earrings.
on
I'm
the
like,
jet, and she just thinks she's so beautiful. She's like totally just went into the madness of what she's become. She's become so self-absorbed and so like fully fixated on the spotlight and the fame that she literally has turned into the monster that she was trying to stop herself to becoming, like figuratively and like physically this monster. And obviously the crowd that's watching are just totally freaked out and grotesque by it. That she ends up going out there, and as we know what happened, the last scene is such a beautiful sequence of events where it just turns to complete shit. But as you know, Elizabeth ends up getting back to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the last scene is her, like, you know, her face basically, which is now just
detached
and is now just crawling towards the Hollywood Walk, and basically absorbs itself into a star.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, this is just batshit bonkers crazy. But I could understand every message the film was trying to portray.
Yes.
And even though it's not a perfect film, it does have faults now. Like I say, I watched this when it first came out and I just fell in love with it because it was just so bonkers. But then I do appreciate what they were trying to do, the director. And I do appreciate all of the talent involved, like Demi Moore. I really think she put her heart and soul into this. Margaret Quarry, Dennis Quaid. I really do think it's a strong movie. If you can get it past just the bonkersness and just look at the actual serious messages that the Trillin's trying to portray, it's a really fun, strong film with a lot of important messages.
So how would you rate this film right now?
Well, it was my top 10 of 2024. I'd give it 10 out of 10. Now that things have went, you know, a year and a bit later, I would probably drop my rating. I would still consider it a high. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10 now.
Okay.
But at the time, I generally felt as if it was just the movie of the year because of the messages and the performances. And now that I've a year later, I still think it's a strong film, but I do see the flaws in it now.
Yeah, I think last year, like I've told people before, like I couldn't even come up with 10 films to make my top 10 list. So it was a very slow year for films. And this year so far, it hasn't been much better. So I don't know what my list is going to look like by the end of the year, but it's been really tough. Tony, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you had seen this last year, would you have added this to your top 10?
It would have been hard because I'm not sure if I would have or not. Part of me would have said yes, but then a part of me would have said no, because one thing that I told myself, because I almost put Craven in there, but I knew that Craven wasn't a 10 out of 10. So I was kind of like desperately trying to put stuff. And finally I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do the 8. The 8 that I know there are 10 out of 10, so I'm just going to go with that. So chances are, no, it probably wouldn't have made it, but it would have been the one I would have talked about outside of it as like a runner-up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Tony.
Oh boy.
What's going
Yeah,
on,
I'm
Jim?
just like Kevin. Hello. Uh, last year when I saw this, it was like, holy shit. It was great to see something different in Hollywood. They pushed the limits. The acting, like I said, was great. The nudity was amazing. The soundtrack, like,
Yes.
I don't know what it just makes you like. It adds to the movie. It's like the scenes. It could be nothing really going on, but that thing's boom, boom, boom. It's like it gets
It's
you
a
into
very
it.
big driving force. Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. But now watching it again, I see, like Kevin said, I see some faults in it. Like, I mean, it's in the movie, but like, she's very lucky she got that job right away. Because if she didn't, who knows what would have happened to her.
Right.
She's lucky she like everything was happening to her, and just little things like what's her social security number, how's she getting paid, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what though, maybe cash on delivery. But like I'll tell you what, after seeing what you'd have to go through with all that shit, fuck that. Once I saw I had to sew somebody's my backup, I don't trust myself with that shit.
Well, it's just even worse because, like, the thing I kept saying to myself, and this is the problem with Sue, is that she's young, sexually charged. She wants to party,
Yeah.
but you have to be able to maintain that part. Like, you think about marriage or even just a long-term boyfriend. She did have guys, and one guy almost discovered everything that
Yeah.
one night. So it's like the things you have to hide to get away with that. Because even the neighbors, like at one point, like, "Oh, Elizabeth's not here anymore," and then the next time you know, it's like this crazy woman's yelling at him coming out of the house. So it's like
Right.
that's a hard thing to do. And so
Yeah.
it's I would never want to do that no matter what it would offer. Like that's just craziness.
I think it's interesting too how they treated each other. Like just let them lay on the floor. Like it could have got a bed or something, like and like had the food sit nicely or something. Instead, just of all the places on a bathroom floor.
Yeah.
And it just like sitting there.
I was waiting for like fucking like a scene with cockroaches or something like coming up
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for that to happen.
Like
So what would you
cockroaches
rate it?
coming out of her back.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Well, last year I probably would have said 10 out of 10. Now with the little bit of, little faults in it, I probably would also say 8 out of 10. I still really like it. I think it's very creepy and and the noises in when they like the same thing with Crimes of the Future. It's gross, but and we're going to talk about that, but like the squishy sounds and stuff that they make adds to it, and it makes it even more gross. So yeah, it's a fun movie.
So watching it, I love the soundtrack. The acting is top notch. But my issue with it came with the craziness, like at the end. Like it was well done. The special effects are great. But I said to myself when it's happening, I'm like, this doesn't really match the rest of this movie. Like the rest of the movie is kind of going through a certain tempo. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the remake of Suspiria, where it was doing the same thing. Good tempo, good story. And then all of a sudden it just wants to go off the cliff. It wants to do something crazy. And I'm like sitting there saying to myself, like, it's funny, but it just throws the movie off for me. And I don't think it fits, like at least to that degree. Like I knew something was like eventually going to happen because of the way the girls were treating each other. I knew that something was going to happen drastically that would expose them in some way, especially on New Year's Eve. But the way that they went about it, I'm like, wow, they threw everything in the kitchen sink into this and said, fuck it. We're going crazy with it.
When I seen this in theaters, I thought they were going to do like a Death Becomes Her, where they both were going to go into the big battle on a rooftop, and you would just see them both fall off the roof and just be splattered on the ground. on the Hollywood sign, that would have probably
or she was gonna, Sue was gonna get up there pretty and all, and then all of a sudden start falling apart. Like I expected something like that,
Yeah.
But the way they went about it was like, wow, they just went all fucking basket case in this shit. It's like, what are we doing?
Like Monstro would have fucking fit into the basket case films.
Yeah,
Like the look and the design.
Yeah.
If only they would have communicated with each other, like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, sorry, we have to work out, or we're gonna nothing's gonna work out right, or you mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you."
But it looked like it was kind of a trend with this product, because I think she bumped into the guy with the motorcycle, and I think he was somebody who was doing it too. But he was like freaking out. He was all agitated and whatnot. At least that's sort of what I got the feeling from. Either that or he just didn't like old people, but that's sort of what I was getting at when she was looking at him, kind of weird. But yeah, so for me, I'm with you guys. I think it's an 8 out of 10. It is a decent movie, great acting, great soundtrack. Just the ending kind of really just changes the tempo and kind of ruins it for me, because I thought it could have been done a little bit better way. But as Kevin pointed out, the underlying messages, so like that last scene with the face crawling on top of her star, and then she's like pretending that she's being worshipped again. It's like, it's really kind of a funny
she's
nod.
Smiling, and it's like she's like in a trance, that's just there.
Mm-hmm. So good film, highly recommended. But now we're going to move on to our next movie here, Crimes of the Future by the great David Cronenberg. And get into this a little bit. Actually, before I do all this, we'll go ahead and watch the trailer for this as well, just to refresh people of what this film's about.
I'm going to eat my plastic while you're doing that.
Yeah, go do that.
I can feel you pulling things around in there.
It's a brand new organ. Never before seen. We've all felt that the body was empty. Empty of meaning. And we've wanted to confirm that, so that we could fill it with meaning.
The world is a much more dangerous place now that pain has all but disappeared.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
Is it?
You know it is. Surgery is the new sex.
I don't like what's happening with the body. In particular, what's happening with my body. Which is why I keep cutting it up. What do you think they'd find inside it?
Outer space.
Whoops. Sorry.
Let us not be afraid to map the chaos inside. Let us create a map that will guide us into the heart of darkness.
Yeah.
And there you go.
There it is.
So, Crimes of the Future is a 2022 science fiction body horror drama film written and directed by David Cronenberg, stars Viggo Mortensen, Leah Seydoux, Kirsten Stewart, and Scott Speedman. It follows a performance artist duo of Mortensen and Seydoux who perform surgery for audiences in a future where human evolution has accelerated for much of the population. So we kind of early on, as Mr. Tony mentioned, we get this young boy who's kind of just playing in the water near like a lake or riverbed or something, and get this call from his mom from the house, and she's like, come in, but don't eat anything that's in front of you. And I'm like, what the fuck's that supposed to mean? So we get a next glimpse where this young boy starts eating like this plastic bowl or something, and he's just chewing on it and eating it. And then finally, what shocked me off the bat was she starts to suffocate him with a pillow at night, killing him. And then leaves it for the ex-husband to come find. She calls him and says, come get your boy or whatever. And just some weird setup. Mm-hmm. So Kevin, you just saw this today. So how did you feel about this film early on?
Batshit crazy. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching, and I didn't know what I was in store for. Straight away, though, you're all shocked with the demise of this young boy, and I just couldn't figure out, what the hell this was. It meant to be a sci-fi movie? Was it meant to be like a like a fetish movie, like with which it kind of is. It's all of those things where, like they said in the trailer, the human race have evolved to the point where they don't really feel pain anymore.
Yeah.
They don't really have show emotions or can feel anything. So their way in that's like of gaining like emotions or trying to feel anything is that they have to go inside of the body and like basically touch organs, which triggers like the sensations that gives them like feelings. And it's and it's become like this erotic fetish in many ways. So like you say, Via Morgansen's character, he virtually is like, they call him an artist because he basically puts himself on display in, Caprice. Is it Caprice? Is that the name of
Yeah,
the?
in the
Yeah,
red dress. Yeah,
so they're not actually a couple, but you can tell there's some sort of chemistry there between the two of them. And so she's like, she was a surgeon before becoming like this artist, this futuristic artist who she performs like these small surgical like operations in front of crowds of people who are now fixated by this because they can see by his face that he's feeling emotions. And
it's a really weird thing because he's able to regenerate extra organs, and so during these performances where they make it kind of an art form, she's able to remove them, but he calls them tumors because technically speaking, the government has a lot of control. They don't ever really give us a year, I think, to exist, but they are in control and they see some of this stuff as like abnormal. So that boy that we saw early in the film, they would consider him abnormal, like not normal.
Yeah.
So in the case of Tensor, played by Mortensen, he's able to regenerate these organs that are legit, and they mark them, but he calls them tumors. So this is why he can still perform as an artist and not be in trouble with the government. But we do find out that he has other connections as well. But
yeah.
go on.
So like, I like the scene where she's performing the thing and he's showing emotion and they're kind of all around and being I wouldn't say around, but they're fixated because it's so unique and strange that they can see this man having these sensations of these mini surgeries in front of them. And she's actually, you see like the mechanical arm go inside his body, and it turns out she's tattooing the organ.
Yeah.
She puts like a tattoo of an image on the organ, then she cuts it off and brings it out, and then they put it like in a jar, like a test tube jar, and then the end of the performance is the whatever organ they have distracted from the body in tattoo, they then place on display, and the crowd becomes fixated because it's something that they're not used to.
Yeah. I always found it interesting about the beginning with this bed that he's in, like rocks around. It's got these hands and stuff, and it's like you think that he's like in a lot of pain, but it's like it's supposed to rock him so that he isn't in pain, and it's just a really weird setup that we see here with him.
Because of his ever-changing body, it can't, and like new organs, it can't like read him right. So he's like, oh,
yeah.
It looks incredibly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And same with when he's eating, like he's eating his food, he's got to rock a certain way so that he can crunch down on it. We find out later why, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it just looks painful, like eating, even if it's not like the other guy was in that same kind of chair. It's like, I guess it's supposed to help you digest it and all that stuff, but like, man, it just looks like you're going to eat and somebody knocks your hand or something. That's what it looks like. It looks like just somebody shaking your chair. I mean, it works, I guess. People like them. They have a weird, I don't know what his obsession with this like Geiger looking stuff is, because it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, it's crafted. It's like, it looks like a sarcophagus from like Alien.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the artist who did, like you said, is a Geiger, who's the artist who kind of, the art from his work, they used that to be how they created the xenomorphs in Alien that inspired the look of the xenomorph. So
Yeah.
you can definitely see the inspiration from the same artist in, of course, this particular movie. And like Cronenberg, I think he was a huge fan of that artist as well as Alien. So you can definitely see the influences within the film.
And it's like in all of his films, they're like kind of weird looking things like this, like flesh, robotic kind of things. It's really creepy.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you've kind of got like a couple, 2 or 3 different factions of people in this movie. You got Vigo and Leah Caprice and Saul Tensor. These are the artists that are performing. Then you have Tinlin and another gentleman who are like investigators for the National Organ Registry. And then, of course, we have Lang Dolteris, played by Scott Speedman, who was in the Underworld series, playing the father of the young boy that was killed. And he's basically like this rebel or this activist who he can eat these candy bars that are toxic to normal humans. So he can eat these candy bars and not have anything happen. So he believes that humans are starting to evolve naturally into certain things where like his son could digest plastic. So he's trying to push for proof against the government that they exist, that they're not like figments of imagination or made up. But there are sects of the government that are trying to keep this quiet. They don't want this to get out. This is
And you do see him constantly eating them blue candy bars.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, but they're not candy bars. It's like there's something
like
in
waste.
them.
Yeah.
It's like plastic
toxic
and
waste.
shit. Yeah.
So then he obviously is like his son. He has the ability to adapt and eat plastic, because you do see later on somebody has one of his candy bars and dies instantly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you see like the purple goo around his face and running down his, his cheeks.
Yep.
Yep. And here's a picture of Caprice and, of course, Stewart's character Timlin, who, despite being an investigator, she's very enamored with what they do as artists. Like you saw her in the clip, she's kind of like, what you're doing isn't really art. It's more like the new sex. Like it's something that's very erotic.
It's very erotic. It's like a fetish. Like, like plenty of tits in this if you like breasts.
Nice ones too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like the Caprice, I was completely surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. And then those other 2 girls, damn.
Mind that I was laughing at that bit where they're like install the equipment and we recognize this machine. We haven't seen this one for years. It's an older model. So then Caprice turns and the next thing they're both just lying naked with tits and, as you know, the lady gardens all over this. Freaking mechanical.
They're like, yeah, we
apparatus.
can be models, right? And she's like, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, but you don't see anything else. It's a sad thing.
Well, I mean,
no, it's a sad thing.
It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. Like,
there's no penises for me though. But
no, not this movie. But you like boobs.
I like my own boobs.
Well,
but we do find out that Tensor, he's actually working with the government, working with an investigator named Whippet, and he's trying to infiltrate these rebellion or this artists or these activists that are trying to push for the evolution of humans, like as far as like their organs and what they can do. Despite having his own affliction, which he just writes off as tumors, is why he can perform. Just because he calls them that, he doesn't call them the organ. He isn't pushing any kind of agenda at the moment. But yeah, he's working with this guy, and then some of the things that's pretty interesting in here is those two chicks you talked about working on the machines, like they have another job they do, which I found to be very interesting. Uh, so Kevin, like as this movie's going along and the story's starting to unravel, obviously we see a lot of crazy stuff, like the guy with the ears. He's like a performer. He doesn't really
Yeah.
serve any purpose other than just looks. But how did you feel about how the story's unraveling at this point?
For me, I'm going to be completely honest. I was trying to follow the story and understand the story, but I felt like the pacing of it's very slow. So there were times where I was trying to continue trying to figure out what the hell was going on, but then the only thing that kept me interested is like Tony and Sensei Red Spirit said is the boobs. The boobs, the exoticness of it. There is a lot of sexiness to this movie. It's a very sexy movie, despite the stuff that's going on. But then as the plot progressed, I did eventually start getting into it more. It did take us a while because I was trying to figure out what the hell, what's the message behind what's going on in the movie.
Yeah.
But I did eventually get it, and I did enjoy it for the most part. But I just wish the pacing was slightly better in it, because I think if you're not prepared for a movie like it, which is very artistic, it's very the cinematography is great in it, the stylization of this movie, it's definitely, you can tell it's the Cronenberg effect. Like how it looks, how it feels, what he's trying to progress and showcase. But I think if you're not a fan of his movie, I think you'd easily switch off.
Yeah.
Where I enjoy the majority of what he brings. I just think you've got to have patience sometimes with his particular movies.
No, you do, and
I
same
agree.
with his son. Like this movie cost like 27 million to make, but only made like 4.6 million at the box office. So clearly, it did not even come close to making its money back. But the type of film that he's doing, that's something that's really kind of more for independent filmmaking than it is for mainstream audiences, because they're just not going to get it. They're not going to be into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I respect him more, because he's not making movies for mainstream. He's not making movie for a movie studio that just wants to make money. He's an artist, and he's somebody who makes movies because he has a passion and love for filmmaking, and he knows that his movies aren't for everybody. He's for a certain type audience, and he makes the movies for that audience. So, like you say the movie made only 4 million or whatever it was. The people who put that 4 million in the bank are fans of his work and fans of what he brings as a director and an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he doesn't throw movie out after movie every year or so. Like Quentin Tarantino only has a few, because he doesn't it's not like boom, 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 boom. Now, and Cronenberg, what you're getting into. It's not constant movies, but I agree with you. Like some I like and some I'm not into, but you have to.
It's like Quentin Tarantino. He's an artist and a film director, and he has his own style and his own way of filmmaking, and so we appreciate the movies he does. And he only said he was only ever going to make 10 movies, and I think he's on to the last movie, whatever that'll be. So he once he's done, he say whatever he makes, he's happy with. He's achieved what he wanted to achieve. And Cronenberg, like you said, his movies aren't for everybody, but he knows he has an audience, and he knows he has an audience that will appreciate what he brings out.
Yeah. Yep.
So despite Tensor and Caprice, being artists, they're also in competition for attention with other artists. So there are other artists that do similar things, but through different means. Like one woman cuts herself up a little bit as a form of art, because again, they don't feel pain, but they see it as some sort of fetish and artistic thing. It's almost like Hellraiser gone mainstream. It's like we're just going to cut ourselves up, pierce ourselves, or whatever, and then we're just going to do this. So Lang, who again is the father of the young boy who's killed at the beginning of the film, wants Tensor and Caprice to do an autopsy on his son. He wants to show the world that his son was just evolving as a human being to be able to consume and digest plastics and stuff like that. So that's his goal as an evolutionist, as they call it. So they get to the point where, the body, and they got it there, and they start opening it up, but then they realize all the organs that are inside the boy are all marked. Some have like smiley faces, they're all tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
And so this tells Lang, the father, and Tensor and everyone else that this boy was manufactured through the government. Like everything that he could do was done artificially. But that kind of leads to more questions than answers. So one thing I love about this movie is that it does have like a lot of twists and turns in it. So we discover, of course, the boy actually was legit, but that somebody got to him before they were able to do the autopsy and removed his other organs and put in these fake ones. And then we learned that's also through Timlin, played by Kirsten Stewart, who I'm surprised she didn't show her boobs in this. She's not afraid to do that usually, but
yeah,
kind of surprised she's one that didn't do it. But she's clearly like a undercover agent who is making sure that the evolutionists don't get their agenda out there, and that they just put a stop to that. So she was the one that secretly put in the fake organs. What's up, Jedi? How you doing, my friend? So, Tony, how did you feel about this towards the end here when we start figuring out that there's like this conspiracy to make sure that the evolutionists don't get their agenda out?
It is a little confusing. I get it, but like you really have to pay attention to these movies.
Yeah.
I actually had the wiki open while I was watching this film, so I could just follow it.
Yeah, at the beginning, like you said, it's like a boy by the water, and she's like, "Don't eat anything." It's like, okay, this kid must eat. Like, he's a kid; he eats stuff. What in the hell?
That was my phone.
Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't mine.
Mine too.
Hers did it too, though.
It's because our friend has started a video chat. So it's popped up, but I've declined it.
Well, what a bunch of jerks. They should be watching this video chat. Yeah. Tell them.
Missing out on prizes. Sorry, you bitches.
No prizes for them.
No prizes for them.
The prize is you get to see me naked.
Oh, come on, I want people to watch.
Prizes? You'll see my boobies instead of the boobies that were in the movie. That's the prize.
Well, I'm not eligible for that prize, so I'm going to leave. Yeah.
I just got you on blast, Kevin. Oh
boy.
Blast.
Look, man, if they don't want to support our show, well, I know where I stand. That's cool. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm not talking to you. Shut up over there.
Oh, shit.
How come I can't see half of the chat?
How come I'm getting into trouble? What have I done?
I don't know. It must be because you ignored the call.
I did too.
No.
Even though they quite know what's going on right now. They clearly know what's going on. All right. So go ahead, Tony. Finish saying what you were going to say.
Like I said, you really have to pay attention to this because, like I said, with the boy in the beginning, it's like, what is because I didn't know what this is about. And you got to go into it like that. And then like, you really, up until the point, it's like, what is really, like, it's so weird. And then you get up to the point where you find out he's an agent. And it's like, oh, okay. And then, so he's on this side, but yet he's like getting deep in undercover. He's actually enjoying this shit. And it's really strange because like where she says to him, like, when you were cutting, I wanted you to cut my face.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God. Then after a while watching, I forgot that they couldn't feel pain. And I'm like, how could they like this? Like the girl's just like laying outside the club and the guy, like he just has like a blade. He's cutting into her foot. She's like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God. Like
Well,
visually, it's a little unappealing
well,
to this movie if you don't like
yeah,
that shit.
yeah. Look at Caprice though. That particular scene where he had the gash down the and she was like basically tonguing inside of his
Yes.
Oh, the
organs.
Yeah, the
zipper.
dude put like
Yeah,
a zipper.
That's
yeah.
Zipper
It's
on his
like
disgusting.
stomach.
And he
it's
goes,
like just
"Careful, don't spill."
Yeah, I thought that was so
Ew.
great.
Ew.
like when that was going on, I'm thinking, well, I've heard of tongue jobs and all of it. That's
Yeah,
not the kind
dude,
of oral that,
you
like,
know that was a sexual innuendo with that scene. I'm just like, oh no.
Oh yeah.
And then he said that, and I was just like rolling. I was like, oh shit.
Blech.
It would have been better though if you said, "Hey, you got some on your chin." That would have been better.
He just wiped it.
Yeah.
Wipes his chin. Oh, let me get that for you, Caprice.
Oh, you're
But
alive on Twitch too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a crazy movie. That ending though too, like I was saying to you off air, like Kevin said, I was getting into it. I was really getting into it, and then the whole reveal. It's like, oh, Timlin did it. It's a conspiracy kind of thing, because that whole government, like the new whatever they called themselves, they're trying to fix evolution. It's going in the wrong direction,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these guys want it to go in that direction because they are evolving. They're eating plastic, and he looks at it as like, we've ruined the earth. We're evolving now. We got to fix it and eat all this plastic, because this is another thing, like the plastic that's all in the oceans and stuff like that. I think he's thinking long term, like we're gonna fix the earth up too, because that's why we're
it's like
evolving.
it's like a fucked up fetish version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, plastic eater man or
But
something.
then, like, our two girls that work on the machines, like, there's a point with Dr. Nassater where, like, they show up to work on his machine. The next scene I see is, like, he's dead inside his chair with holes in his head. And I'm like, are they assassins? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? And then, of course, we realize at the end with Lang that sure enough, they just put 2 drills in the back of his head and then killed
They
him.
killered his head for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it if you think about it.
Wow. Because they
It's a
were
good way
like,
to
I
do
think,
it.
so playful and naive throughout most of the film. I'm like, oh, these bitches are sneaky.
Yeah, they're psychotic. But
Yeah.
then that happens. All that shit happens, and the way the movie ends, it just, I don't know. I don't want to say the ending yet, unless, but like,
We're almost there anyway. So
yeah, it's like it just ended like, and I'm like, oh, I was like into it. I'm like this, and then it just the credits come up. I'm like, is there a part 2? Like it feels like they rushed the ending a little bit.
well, I had to read up on that.
Yeah.
So obviously he's, like I said, because of his body and everything, in order to eat regular food, he has to be in this machine because the machine has to detect how he can eat this stuff.
Yeah, and where
And so
the
finally
hosts are on his body.
Yeah, so he's decided, you know what? I'm going to push the limits. Let me have one of those bars, the candy bars that guy was eating. And it's just like waste and germs and whatever. Like, that's all it's made of. The guy was mass producing this in order for them, who were evolutionists, to survive.
Yeah.
So he gives them this bar, and he figures, like, if I die, then fuck it. I'm in pain or whatever. It's going to tell me one way or the other whether or not I'm evolving like they are. So he eats it, and then, he has like this sort of just like this face that he lets you tell you either he's dying or it's working. So from what I can gather from what I read, when he ate it, the machine stopped, which means the machine no longer had to adjust his body to what he was eating. So it was
And
working.
he smiled.
Yes. So like whatever he was feeling was like satisfaction or whatever. So that's sort of like what the impression was, that he is becoming what they were. And of course he might be the new leader of this evolutionist group.
I probably, because of how this, I would have welcomed a sequel to see where it progressed next, because it ends on such like a question mark ending.
Yeah.
That you're like, you want to know what, even though it's, like I said, apart from the pacing issues, and you had, like you said, Tony, you've got to pay real attention to the plot, because if you even miss one bit, you'll be like, what the fuck have I missed? What's this about? When did that happen? You'd be like that. So you've got to pay attention, and you've got to keep all eyes on what's going on. But the way it ends in a way that it kind of leaves you wanting more. despite the pacing issues and what the hell's going on. So I would have welcomed a sequel, but clearly you never know because of the box office. It might have been intentional to end it the way it did, where you're all like in that mindset of what if or what, the constant question, or if this had done well, what do you want it to do? A sequel.
Yeah, because the way, like you said, it just ends abruptly, and I'm just like, I get it. He's changed, and now he's one of them. But I want to see, now that he knows, and I want to see more of the story. So I'm fine with the movie ending, but I want to see more.
Cronenberg likes to just fuck around with you the entire time. He wants it to be open ended. I mean, Kubrick was doing this a lot too at times.
It's like I always remember Nightbreed when that ended, where he plays the killer in Nightbreed and he becomes alive at the end. He comes back from the dead, and you're like, oh, there's got to be a sequel, and there never was.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
I was like, you bastard.
Dirty bastard. All right, well, final thoughts. We'll start with Tony this time and then give us your rating as well.
Final thoughts. Man, it was I guess I kind of never say anything. Like Kevin said too, like you're getting into it and it's like, what are you watching? Then you find out you're into the plot and you just get sucked into it, like, man, this is so weird, but like I can't look away kind of thing. And the acting's weird. Kristen Stewart she was good, but like she just always like that in a movie.
Yeah, but, very solemn.
It's like she's on some drug. It's like she's not. She's like she's not with it. Like she's there in body, but mentally she's in another place.
Like she's weird. She's weird. Even Caprice thinks she's weird. So that's pretty bad.
Right.
So but like it's interesting how their thing is the tattoo, and then this guy is like the zipper thing, and it's like, and then she wants to do the cutting, and it's just kind of an insane take of how your body is, could evolve someday, like I don't know how people would be able to do it without emotions. Like I don't think it would work. I really don't.
See, that's the thing I found very weird. That you can't. But I don't think he could not only have emotions and feel like it's like why you think when his body was struggling to eat, he couldn't taste the food or he couldn't feel it coming down his throat.
Yeah.
So like you see right at the end when he ate the candy bar and he smiled, it was like he actually could taste what he was eating, and he smiled.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, like
he did a good job of
finally being satisfied that you're eating something.
It's like when there's one where he had like a pie or something, and he's like, you could just see he just looked so uncomfortable and just didn't look like
he
was
did a good job of
that.
Eating. He did a good job of making himself
and the
look
way he was eating,
so uncomfortable,
like eating glass.
Disgusting.
The way he was chewing it was like glass.
Yeah.
But it's just supposed to be regular food.
Yeah, I know. I think of all the Cronenberg movies I've seen, this one was okay. Very weird, obviously. That's without saying. I wasn't crazy about some of the CGI'd stuff in there. I get it. Like when that boy was eating the basket and she says about, there's a white liquid that comes out, I guess helps digest it and melt it. You could tell it was like fake.
Yeah.
And it kind of bothered me. And then like some of the machine pieces in that movie, it just looked too fake. I think like if you're putting that much money into the movie, you can make it look a little better. But and that interesting story, really crazy, and I kind of liked it. I don't think I would want to own this. I don't really think I'd watch this again unless like, hey, you guys want to watch this? I'm like, all right, fuck it. But it was okay. I would say, Jesus Christ, I don't know how you should rate these things. 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's not bad. It's cool. Interesting concept. Acting was cool. I like Vigo in it. I like how he kind of like looked like Dark Man in a way.
Yeah.
Walking around creepy and
also like a version of Emperor.
Yeah.
Darth.
So it was interesting. Just that ending, just the abrupt ending, and I'm like, I wanted more.
Turn to the dark side, Luke.
First, cut me open.
Yeah.
and finger my kidney,
Ugh.
right? Motorboat my I don't know, esophagus. I don't know.
Kevin,
It's Cronenberg. You know what you get on the tin if you know his stuff. He's out there with his ideas and his storytelling, and he's very creative. This was a mixture of sci-fi. You could see like hints, like you said, of the Gaia, the artist, with like the way the machines look, the look of the movie. It was also quite erotic. Like I say, and it was just a real compelling story, but it does have pacing issues, and you have to pay attention to detail. If you know, it's one of them. It's like a thinking movie in many ways. So if you're not prepared for that, you'll not enjoy it. Like I say, there were times I checked in, and there were times I thought I was going to check out, but luckily he pulled us back in whenever I got to that point. I'm very much like Tony. Would I watch this again? Probably only if I had no choice. It's not really like one of my favorites of his movies, but I do appreciate what he was trying to do. And like Tony, I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10.
yeah, so this is definitely my first time watching it. I do love a lot of Cronenberg's work. Much like The Substance, the soundtrack is actually pretty good. It drives the movie a little bit. The acting is good. The one thing that really shined for me, surprisingly, was the story itself. I did not expect to have this like political twist in here. I thought it was just going to be your standard like crazy people doing crazy shit. But it actually had a nice story driving it for different things. I mean, it did have some pacing issues, but overall, I really liked it. I don't know if I'm going to consider like one of the best ever, but I'm going to score it a 9 out of 10. I do think it's very good story wise. I really enjoyed it a lot. I wasn't as turned off. I wasn't turned off by the end so much because I expect that from Cronenberg. He likes to leave shit open ended, so it didn't really surprise me.
I think what also turns me off a little bit is the cutting. I'm not into that shit, so like I can't see. I guess okay, they don't have the whole story.
Well, I'm not a big body horror kind of person.
No.
So like even with The Substance, like I don't think I'd own either one of these, but both are decent watches. It's like I wouldn't tell anybody not to watch them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just not into cutting. I just see that and I'm like, oh man, that like I stubbed my toe for God's sakes. Am I choppy?
No.
Oh, okay. You guys were for a second there. Yeah, I stubbed my toe and it fucking hurts. I can't imagine somebody cutting into my fucking face or something. You know?
Like Cronenberg, because of all the influences, I think if they ever did another reboot of Hellraiser, I would choose him.
Yeah.
I think his direction, his directing style, his creativeness, I think he's perfect for Hellraiser.
I agree. Yeah. He'd make a pretty crazy film, so
him and Clive Barker, if they could team up, that'd be amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, so I need to ask the chat, whoever's in the chat, who plans on participating in our trivia contest with prizes. Right. I need to know because we need to make sure we have enough people to do this. So just
I want to win a prize. Can I
type in one?
You did. You picked the movie. You're on the channel.
Bitch.
Oh, sorry. You picked the movie. You're on the channel, bitch.
Thank you.
Let's get cracking, as they say, right?
Who says that? Nobody says that, Kevin. Nobody says that, right?
Otherwise,
oh my God!
Stream.
He is that bitch. He just sucked up the straw with nothing in it. Fuck you. That was his. You.
Surprise.
Guess not.
Welcome.
No prizes. Type 1 if you're going to participate.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I have enough people to do it.
How many?
If
do we
not,
need?
we'll just hold on to it for another day.
Another prize.
Mm-hmm.
If not, we're going to hold on to the 100th episode.
Yeah.
And you'll get that in about 6 months.
You'll get that. You get Tony's car.
Non-existent car.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you go. You just get a
His car bed. You'll get his car bed.
a brand new to you van.
Oh, look at that.
That looks like the fucking Scooby wagon.
Yeah. That's got even a motorcycle on the back. How nice.
Yeah.
I got a orange Renegade over there.
This is from 1981. I'm actually Ant-Man. This is actually a real car, so I just got thrown.
Oh, no, it's upstairs. It's all the stuff
large.
upstairs with that one. Okay. Well, no trivia at the end of the day. I'll just hold on to it. It's too bad. Has some cool shit going out.
I don't know what your questions were, but I thought I had some good questions too. It sucks.
Same, yeah.
Well, you guys can ask me if I know them.
So what? What are you gonna say, Kev?
So are the trivia questions on about the films we've just been talking about?
No, actually, there was 5 different categories. So we had horror, music, kaiju, comedy, and action.
Come on, let's go.
Maybe we should save it for just a game show day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might have to try to find a way to snaggle in Samurai or something, or maybe Rob, because we have to find a way to get like enough people to want to participate, because it would be fun. Like we have some cool shit that I want to give away, but
shame we couldn't do maybe another. You know how you did a Versus episode for your birthday?
Yeah.
Shame you couldn't do something like that and get enough people involved, and then decent questions, and if you got Samurai Rob, make it a lot of fun that way.
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll just hold off. That's fine too. But
should I show them one thing they could have won?
Actually, I'll show everything they could have won. So this is.
I had this for prize.
Oh, Killer Clowns! Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was out.
I want to win that.
I would have won. I'd like to win that. I love Killer Clowns.
But let me see if
in fact, I think we should do, if you ever invite me on Ghouls again, let's do Killer Clowns.
That'd be fun, actually.
Yeah.
So this hoodie for Entombed was one of them.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
The original VHS pressing of Cradle of Fear with Danny Field.
Very nice. Look at the things you
Why are you letting that go? I didn't know.
This is mine. It's not yours. It's mine.
Yeah, but it's in my house. It's mine.
Bruce Lee box set of VHS.
No, you're not letting that
right,
go.
you know where my address is.
I had an extra copy of this. Death Spiritual Healing on vinyl was gonna go.
Cool.
And then the one that would have been the kicker was this here, which I have an extra of. The Godzilla.
I love that. I love that.
Yep. So I have this whole extra one that would have been going.
Yep.
But nobody wanted to play.
Oh well, another time.
Yep.
They're not gonna spoil the prizes at least.
Well, we had a method to the madness, but you would have to really earn it. We weren't going to just give it out.
Oh yeah. If you want a prize, you've got to earn it, baby.
Yeah, I mean, some of the questions were not super hard, but some were going to be challenging. So that's the way you want it. You know what I mean?
Well, like we said, we don't want it. We're giving it away for free, but we want you to work a little bit for it. At least Google it. At least Google it.
Yeah, I mean, you would have a couple minutes to try to figure it out, but we're not going to give you a half hour per one to get it done.
But that's all right. Next time, we're not going anywhere.
Yep. But Mr. Tony, I do have our picks for next week.
Yeah.
And his will actually be the 50th one. So despite this being the 50th celebration, it isn't actually 50 and 51. It's just we were doing a special segment with Mr. Lambert here. So next week for the 50th episode, Mr. Tony of the Dead has selected Death Becomes Her.
Isn't that funny? You said that, and I was like, there we go.
I mentioned that today.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the one I selected is an 80s film called Death Screams.
Oh no!
It's all
Oh,
about death.
oh, not Death Screams.
Yes, Death
Oh
Screams.
Jesus, you monkey.
Well, if I get to be a guest on the again, I think the two films I'd like is Killer Clowns from Outer Space and the new film that me and Tony watched, The Explorer from Another World, which is only 40 something minutes. It was on Amazon Prime.
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was really fun for what it is.
What's it called?
Explorer from Another World.
Okay, I'll write them down. So if we ever get around to doing it.
Yeah.
All right, cool deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. You mentioned like, oh, death. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this movie for a long time. And then you just told me the ending. I'm like, damn it. It's all right.
Well, it's like I thought the Substance was going to have an ending where they're both are just going to be battling on a fucking roof or something, and they'll tipple over, and they both landed on.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, like it would be cool if they were like fighting and like she punched her and like a tip flew off her face.
And she went to fall backwards and she ended up grabbing her arm to save herself, but her arm come detached and she ended up splattered anyway.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool.
That was crazy, man. Like that tit coming out of the eye. I was like, wow.
If you've not seen The Substance and you want to see a tit come out of somebody's eye, go check it out, people.
Right.
All right. Well, Kevin Lambert, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun, as usual.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. This has been fun.
So also give people an idea what you might have coming up on the entertainment headquarters as well.
Oh, well, I have just put, obviously just waiting for confirmation who's available for the shows that I've been planning. So coming in the month of June, we will be starting the month off basically a little bit early on the 30th of May. We'll be doing the next Kaiju Connections Classic Review, and it's going to be Bermuda Depths. Yeah. So that's the first thing coming up. We'll then be moving on at some point to doing the next retro classic movie show, which is going to be the Karate Kid special. 1, 2, 3 in the new Karate Kid. I'm not going to cover the one with Jackie Chan just yet. Then, of course, you are my regulars on Into the Darkness. We will be doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, where we'll be talking 1 to 4 in part 1 of that discussion, and eventually we'll move on to the next ones. And of course, me and Mr. Tony the Dead, we will be reviewing the next Television Chronicles, and we're going to be looking at The Terror, which is a anthology horror series that came out in 2018. So I'm really looking forward to doing that with those guys. And of course, one other thing, which is on your show, Anubis, we're going to be doing the next cinematic synergy, which is, I believe, The Illusionist.
2006, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got all that to look forward to.
So aside from Ghouls, Tony, you have anything else you're doing? Any unboxings or anything like that?
I mean, I have stuff, but I don't know if I really want to do a video. I can't find time for it. Like, there's so much. I'm not lazy. It's just I have other things coming in. I don't know, but I am lazy. I just don't care. I don't care anymore. Isn't tomorrow Event Horizon?
Yep.
Tomorrow Event Horizon, so that's going to be cool. That's such a wild movie I haven't watched in a while, and man, Sam Neill.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, Sci-Fi Century and I are co-hosting his next review discussion about Event Horizon from 1997. It will be run on my channel, as well as it will be live. No prizes given. But we have a big panel of guests, including these two gentlemen there. So no prizes. Sorry, you missed out this time, buckos. Then Monday, I'm getting together with the Samurai Guy and for Vintage Cult Cinema as we talk about 1998's Soldier with Kurt Russell. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And as I pointed out, the next two Ghouls of Midnight we'll be doing next week as well, Mr. Tony and I. Friday the 16th, I'm going to try to get a little bit of a group together because something that Kevin and I were talking about a little while back. I have a new segment that I want to kind of start called What If? And the first thing I'm going to tackle is the Scream franchise. So I want to see if I can get some people who want to join in on that discussion because I have a nice, cool idea about what I would have liked to seen before the first Scream movie came out. That would have been a little bit darker than the rest of the films. But I'll have to get together with people and see who's interested and what time we can do that. Then on the 17th, Olvin and I are back again for Silver Screen Savants. We're doing Tango and Cash for the review.
Oh, nice.
And then after that, for about a week or so, Neko and I will be down in Maryland again for Maryland Death Fest 2025. We've got some friends with Oxygen Destroyer and Nomos appearing at the festival this year.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we're going to have some fun with that. We'll have a review at some point.
Well, I might be going to another rock concert.
Uh-oh.
I might be taking another trip with Iron Maiden.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
And as Kevin said, the 30th, Kaiju Connections, the Bermuda Deaths. I'm looking forward to that review a lot. And then also later in the day, I will be getting together again with Vintage Cult Cinema with the professor, Daniel Miller, and we're going to talk and review the Boondock Saints.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. So we got some things planned up, coming up for sure on this channel. Let's see. Chris, hello, sir. How you doing?
Also, before we forget, too, tomorrow's Mother's Day, so happy birthday.
Yep.
Happy birthday. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Could be their birthday. I don't know. Shayna's birthday is on Tuesday.
What'd you get her?
Me.
What a disappointment that is.
Yeah, well.
I'm just kidding.
He's on a budget.
You don't want
What
to
can you
take
tell
it,
him?
give her back.
Not a budget. Budget Tony.
I don't know. I'll probably just cook her something. She likes when I cook. So
Some Vienna sausage.
wouldn't you like to know?
Oh no, but yeah, thanks guys. Another great stream, obviously a lot of fun. Two good movies. Highly recommend both. No matter where you fall on the rating scale, but both are worth a good watch at least once.
Definitely.
Definitely go and like and subscribe to Kevin Lambert Entertainment Headquarters as well as Mr. Tony the Dead. Great content as always, and I enjoyed doing this stuff with you guys. I've said this in my last unboxing how I really love the collaborations we're doing. Tony and I, this is a fun show to do. Ghouls at Midnight's like one
I've
of my
had fun.
favorite segments. Yeah, and I'm glad, Kevin, I'm glad you enjoyed it as well.
Oh, I
So
did. Really good. I always have a good time with you guys. So obviously, like you, love doing the collabs with everyone we've done within the Sci-Fi Society. It's always good, to review movies that I probably wouldn't have a chance to review, like, that one in particular, Crimes of the Future, would never have thought of watching that by myself. So the fact that you suggest movies that I might not think of, and when you watch them, it is a pleasant surprise whether you enjoy them or not. It's the experience of doing something that you might not have done before.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's sort of what Tony and I always kind of liked about this particular segment, is just kind of going and sifting through either his collection or through Tubi or whatever and trying to find stuff that we find interesting. But it's hit or miss. It's how it usually goes. Sometimes we find good ones and sometimes we find some really bad ones. So
we're usually on the same wavelength, but sometimes.
Yeah, Kevin's like that with me too. A lot of times we usually come around the same rating most of the time. Occasionally it's off, but like Rec 4, but
don't fucking bring that up. Don't bring that up. That is a terrible memory for me.
Fucking idiots.
Fucking idiots.
But yeah. Much appreciated. Thank you all for joining us today on the chat. I'm sorry we didn't get around to the trivia because we just had no one who wanted to play for whatever reason. But let's Neko said that. You suck. But we do appreciate the
loss.
support nonetheless. So we'll see you next time on the Ghouls of Midnight, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon or evening.
Satan.
Satan.